Hey, what's up YouTube? Dom the Smartphone Guy coming back at you with another video, and today we're going to take a look at a GPS fitness band. This is called the S908, or it's also known as the Makibes G03, and this thing is crazy inexpensive. This is less than $40 for a activity tracker that it has GPS built into it. So if you think about like something like a Garmin, the lowest end Garmins are usually around $100, or a Polar, basically the same thing. In order to get GPS, you're looking at spending at least $100 and typically more like $200 or $300. So this thing is only $40. You can pick it up at gearbest.com. I'll leave a link down in the description so you can actually see it's a little bit less than $40. It's available in 3 different colors. You got black, yellow, and red. And obviously you can see here that I have the black version here. So I'm going to actually set off my phone off to the side for the moment, and we're going to focus on the GPS band itself. So what you get in the box is you get some instructions which are sitting back there. You get the watch itself, and you get the charger. So this is just going to sit in here and uses a USB on the other end, and it charges like that. So it only takes about an hour to charge this thing, and the battery life, which we'll go ahead and start with that, the battery life on this thing is fantastic. You're looking at, if you're actually tracking activities with GPS, you're looking at about 2 days. So if you do 2 activities, you're going to get about 2 days. But if you're not doing activities, you're probably going to get 3 or 4 days of battery life, or at least that's my experience so far with this watch. So S908, $40. Is this something you should consider picking up? So let's go ahead and jump into all of the features that this thing has to offer. So first of all, we do have a heart rate sensor. Like I mentioned, I already got GPS. It does have a silicone band, so nice sports band there. Now I will say that when I wore this on my right wrist, it did dig into my wrist a little bit, but when I wore it on my left wrist, which you can see obviously that is the wrist I wear watches on primarily, it didn't dig into my wrist. So it was really strange, but on my left wrist it felt fine. On my right wrist, maybe it's just because I'm not used to wearing it, as you can see, it just felt a little bit weird. But you can see obviously a little silicone band there. Now here's the actual watch face. So it's not a very bright watch face. Right away, I'm going to go ahead and say that in the brightest light, this thing is not very easy to see. And by the way, that little refresh that you can see there is not something that you would normally see. So in my eyes, you don't see any of that refreshing, but because we're dealing with a video, it is doing that right now. So I'm going to go ahead and jump through. You can see there's a little fingerprint button there. So that's going to jump into your different menus here. So we have, this is kind of a tracker of your day. So it's the middle of the night. I haven't moved at all. This is something that's going to track your heart rate. And then we have notifications. So you can see Jay Will's got some tweets there, and then I apparently missed a phone call or something there. I'm not sure. It's got a phone number, but anyway. So and then that's the back button. So this is just going to cycle through all of your menus. Okay, so there's 4 options there. If I hit this button right here while I'm on the main clock face, you can see it's going to jump into an activity. So this button now acts as my button to go through my different activities. So this is basically the down button, this is a back button, and then this is a select button or an OK button. So let's say I want to do a walk. So I can go ahead and hit this, and now it'll start tracking my walk. If I hit it again, it'll actually start tracking it. Now I'm going to go back, and if I want to go down, like let's say I want to do a run. Now notice it has that little GPS symbol here. That's because it's telling you that this one does use GPS. So if I hit the OK button, you want to wait for this guy to stop moving. Once he stops moving, that will tell you that it has GPS. And notice that it's in kilometers. I have not found a way to get this off of kilometers. So that is an instant negative for this watch. It is very accurate. The GPS is actually very quick to get connection. So I found that generally within about 20 to 30 seconds you get GPS connection. The heart rate is nice. Whoops, gotta get back into that. Everything seems to track very well, but it's always in kilometers. So I did this watch, I actually wore it right next to this watch, went on a 5-mile run, and they were almost dead on. Of course, I had to translate this from kilometers to miles, like my Huawei Watch 2 measures things in. So they were dead on in terms of the actual distance, but of course this one's measuring in kilometers, which is, if you're in the United States, you're probably not used to that. So anyways, it's not going to get GPS because I'm currently in the middle of my house, but we're going to go ahead and go back. So that's the running. If I hit down again, we can go into hiking, which you can see also will use GPS. We do have also biking, so hit down again, and GPS is being used for that. And then you can swim with this because it's IP68 certified, so it'll track your distance in swimming. Now, I haven't done that, so I can't tell you how accurate that is, but I will say that all of the activities that I tracked using GPS have been very, very accurate. But of course, again, it's all done in kilometers, which is a little bit of a frustration. So let's go ahead and hit back. So now we're back in here. Now on the main watch face, I'm going to hit this button. And what this does is this gets you into your settings. So when you're on the main watch face, I'll go back real quick. On the main watch face, if you hit back, this is going to get you into your settings. So now I can jump into, I can go through my various settings that I want to mess with. And you can see there's quite a few there, but you can also adjust some of these on your phone as well. So I have it connected currently to my OnePlus 5. So we'll take a look at the app itself in just a little bit. So this is the walking one. So again, to select it, you're going to hit the top button. And this is our recent. So this is going to go into your most recent one. So if I click here, so this is my most recent day. So looks like a little bit close, pretty close to 11,000 steps, calories burned. Now that is total calories burned, including inactive calories, and then distance traveled. And again, this is kilometers, so right around 8 kilometers that I traveled on 8/12, which was yesterday. So I'm going to go ahead and hit back. So again, that's your most recent. And then down here, this is to set your goal for walking. So I would go here, and so I have it set at 12,000 steps. So this is your goal. This is the most recent activity that it's showing you there. So now I can go down into walking, which I don't believe I've actually tracked any walks at all. So I'm just gonna skip over that one. Here's the running app. So like I mentioned, I went for roughly around a 5-mile run. So if I go here, and I'll go into my most recent run, you can see what it tracks here. So it took 33 minutes, 7.86 kilometers, which is pretty close to 5 miles, like I mentioned. Calories burned, steps I took during it, and then I'm not exactly sure. Oh, that's your laps. So you can actually split laps in there. I'm not really sure exactly what that does when you split them, but that is the option that you have available. And then this one's going to set your goal. So you can set a goal for when you're running. So let's say I want to maybe, oops, let's hit that button again. And I can set a goal for 8,000 kilometers is essentially what that's saying. So 5 miles. So I didn't quite get there, but that was my plan anyway. So then we can do the same thing for different apps, or for different activities. So we can set goals. We can look at our most recent. So again, you can only look at the most recent one though. This is just to adjust your menu. This is to change your sedentary reminder. Again, these can all be done on the app as well. So we'll take a look at that in just a little bit. Change your sleep reminder, your heart rate zones, and this is to turn the GPS on or off. So those are the options that you have in the settings, and that's pretty much it. That's what you get on the watch. So this right here, it's kind of nice because as you're going through your day, it will actually fill up. So as you get closer and closer to goal, so like my goal is 12,000 steps. So once it gets up to 12,000 steps, it will, fill that thing up. You got your battery life, your time, and then your date. So that is the watch itself. So the biggest negative for sure of the watch for me is that you can't track anything in anything other than kilometers. Other than that, everything has been very accurate. So the distance on the GPS has been very accurate. The heart rate, maybe I will say the heart rate is not the most accurate. So while I was running this watch, the Huawei Watch 2, I was kind of checking back and forth between the two watches. This heart rate monitor does not seem to be very accurate. So if you're really looking for something that does really good heart rate tracking, I'm not sure that I would recommend this watch. A watch that I could recommend though is the Amazfit Pace. It's $100, so a little bit more, but it has a lot more features. So I've also done a review of that watch as well. So If you're willing to spend a little bit extra, the Amazfit Pace has good GPS, good heart rate tracking, does all the above very well. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the app. So this is definitely a huge negative of this watch, and it uses an app called H Plus Watch. Now, I did actually see a video by another reviewer, Smartwatch Tix, who's much more popular when it comes to smartwatches. But he has a video where he actually used just the regular H Plus app. Now I use the H Plus Watch app. They both work actually, and this one actually tracks a little bit more information though. So if I go back into that, so that's just yesterday's data. But if I go into the summary, it'll track all of your weekly stuff. So I can go into the month. So obviously I've only been wearing it for about 4 days there. But let's go back into the week. So you can see that it tracks your steps here. It tracks your distance for each day, tracks the calories, inactive calories, the active calories that you've burned each day. And sorry about that light. And then we have our sleep monitoring, which I will say does not seem very accurate because according to this, on Friday, on Friday, actually, not Friday, I got 10 hours and 3 minutes. That's definitely not the case. I do not get that much sleep. So again, that's using heart rate. And so the heart rate sensor doesn't seem to be very accurate because again, it's showing my average heart rate is around 80. Now I'm a distance runner and no distance runner has an average heart rate of 80. You're looking at typically around 50. My resting heart rate's around 50, so there's no way that's accurate. But anyways, that's one, like I mentioned, the heart rate is not super accurate, which is why some of these other things are inaccurate. So that is something worth mentioning. So next thing I want to look at, so this would just normally track your steps, but because it's basically the beginning of a day, I have no steps yet. So this is your real-time heart rate. Now it's actually collecting heart rate data and I'm not even wearing the watch. So that's another thing to kind of indicate that the heart rate's not super accurate. Settings, this is where you can adjust some of those settings. Now I mentioned you can adjust some of those on the watch directly, but this is how you're going to connect it. You don't actually go into the Bluetooth on the watch. You're going to go into the app and actually connect it. So you can see it's bonding, which means basically it's connected here. It's going to sync automatically, and it does that basically instantly. As long as it's within Bluetooth range, it is constantly syncing back and forth between your phone. We can set an alarm clock. I'm not going to do that. We can do a sit notification, so you can just basically say how often you want it to do that. So that's up here. And you can change it. So like, let's say I want it to let me know if I've been sitting for an hour during certain times of the day. So between 8 in the morning and 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We can change it between 12-hour and 24-hour time. We can change it between imperial, and as you can see, I have it set on imperial. So despite the fact that I have it set on imperial, it will not change it off of kilometers on the watch, which I was kind of hoping it would, but it won't. So then we can set, apparently I haven't given it access to my notifications, but because I actually had it set to a different phone just a second ago. That's actually something that's really simple to change. So I don't have that, or well, I don't want WeChat. And so yeah, so you can see these are a lot of these are Chinese apps. So Facebook and Twitter will now messages and incoming calls now will be synced to the phone, or sorry, synced to the watch. All day heart rate, you can turn that on or off. Screen time saver. Now, this is actually something that's definitely worth mentioning. I set this to 30 seconds. Now, the default is 5 seconds, but when you're running, it's actually really useful to kind of, I actually set this up to like, I don't know, like 250 seconds. So that every time I hit the button, it would just stay on for a long time. Because like I mentioned, this thing gets really good battery life. So if it stays on for 250 seconds, you're not going to kill the battery all that quick. You can easily get through a long run with no problem on this watch because, it's not pushing a whole lot of pixels there. So no issues there whatsoever. So I would say go ahead if you want to set it for a longer time. One thing I did mention or did notice is that when I had it, I think I had it set at 100 seconds, and I was only getting 2 days of battery life on 100 seconds. But if you have it set on like 10 seconds, you're going to get really good battery life on this watch. But I think 60 is a good happy medium, so it stays on for a good long time because, like I mentioned, battery life is really good. You can, of course, erase your user data. You can check the firmware data and then the version. Now, this is the part that it actually shows you your activity. So it'll tell you your time, your distance, but again, it's in kilometers, even though I selected imperial. So same information that I showed you earlier. It actually shows you a map, and then it has something in Chinese, I'm assuming there. And then I can actually select, I thought, yeah, okay, you can zoom in on this. I know you can because I did it earlier. Maybe click up, there we go. Click up there, and now it will actually zoom in on your activity, if I can get it to actually work here on the app. So, okay, here's the point. The app is just not all that great. Yeah, there we go. So now it's going to close. Now it's going to force close. But all that is to say that this app is not a very good app. So the two biggest negatives of the watch, everything works really well with the exception of the fact that obviously the heart rate is not very accurate. The watch will only show you your distance. The GPS is very accurate, but it's only going to show it to you in kilometers. And then the app. Those are the three biggest negatives. If you can live with those things for 40 bucks, this is a pretty good GPS tracker. But you're going to live with some negatives. We got the heart rate's a negative. We got the GPS the kilometers, and the app itself. So other than that, it's a pretty decent watch. Again, we're only talking $40 here. There are some things that they definitely need to improve on. I've given you the three that I think they definitely need to improve on, but something worth considering if you're looking at an inexpensive GPS watch that actually tracks your distance really well, very accurately. If that's important to you, then it's okay. But if you can't live with those negatives, I would check out the Amazfit Pace or the Amazfit Lite, which is a brand new device that just came out. Both are from Xiaomi, worth considering. I'll leave links down in the description for both of those as well. So anyways, this is the S908 or the Makibes G03. Check them out. And thanks for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.